Love and respect, everybody. Welcome back. We are going over the three fates, the Moire, also known as the goddesses of destiny, Atropos, Lachesis, and Clotho. They are in that order for very good reason on this board, and I want to trace their alterations and appropriations throughout time and show that they are quite immortal, they are quite alive today, and are significantly involved in the use of the Overton window and politics and influencing our decision making on from the smallest to the greatest of things. And they are present in so many rites of passage that it boggles the mind. So we will first just go over their, culturally in their origin story. Atropos is the eldest. She is also called the inflexible. She is intimidating as she carries the shears. She represents death in her own right, and even Zeus was subject to her authority. The second in age is Lachesis. She is the middle-aged, and she is called the Alater. She carries the scroll and the globe, sometimes one or the other. And the youngest of the three is Clotho, and she is the spinner, and she carries the spindle. And I put these in this order on purpose, as I believe Atropos is the past. She cuts, she has the sears. She is cutting away every second as it passes by you in the present moment in your life, as you measure the moments that you are experiencing in this very second of existence. And Clotho, she is the future. She is weaving. She is always subject to change. And that is why I put the mutable cross here, the fixed cross in the present moment, and the cardinal cross there with the past, the unchangeable, unaltering cardinal past, which has much to do with our elders, those who have passed before us, who have died. This word atropos, I think of the word atrophy, when things atrophy, once it's kind of like rigor mortis. Even the term entropy comes to mind here. When momentum comes to an end, it enters into the past with the coming of time, the inevitability of time. So throughout history, these Greek myths became Romanized, and their names in Rome were Morta for Atropos. She carried the shears, that's death, Morta, as we know. Dacuma for Lachesis, as she carries the scrolls and the documents, the writing, the present law. This is the law as it is now. And then Nona was the name for Clotho for the future. And I do believe very strongly that that is the origin of the word mañana. That is the hand of Clotho, the hand of tomorrow. Mon is hand, nona, monona, having much to do with the future. And she is the youngest, as she has the most potential. And as we know, young people are very mutable, subject to change, weaving in and out of tendencies and preferences very quickly. So I believe that when Christianity expressed the three wise men, that they were, maybe the term appropriation would be too harsh. We will say that they were reflecting the same concept of past, present, and future. They saw the beauty of this myth, and they wanted to reflect it to some degree and have these three concepts give obeisance to the Christ at the birth. So the characters of Casper, Melchior, and Balthazar are very much reflections of the three goddesses, the three fates, and they even move in their geology, their origins. They move from east, Turkey, to Arabia, to Ethiopia. They move from east to west, much like the progression of the sun. And I want to point out that this is alive today. These Greek, Roman, Christian concepts are perfectly alive today and used very commonly in the conservative, moderate, and progressive political mentalities. Conservative would be atropos, inflexible, fixed in the past, unwavering, and very quick to use the shears to cut away influences, ties, the string of life, which is essentially what their job was. Clotho would weave the cloth, Lachesis would measure it, and Atropos would cut it. It was the thread of everyone's life. So the moderate mentality politically would be Lachesis is being present in the now, being measured in your decision making. And then the progressives are full of promises for the future, always changing, always subject to the latest and greatest and newest idea, and trying to move forward, very quick to say yes to anything and everything at the same time. Quite a beautiful reflection of a very ancient idea. And I want everybody to think of this in the concept of the Overton window. If you don't know what the Overton window is, please look it up. Please think and meditate upon it very deeply, and know that it is what influences your life in so many ways today. So, an ancient term for the Moirae, the three goddesses, another term for them was the portions. They were called the apportioners. And I believe that this is very much has to do with minding your P's and your Q's. When I was a kid, I thought that meant mind your pleases and your thank yous. But I actually believe that minding your P's and your Q's, knowing your apportioners, has to do with that temple of the Oracle of Delphi. And in the archway, it read the phrase, "Know thyself in thy proper proportions." And knowing yourself in thy proper proportions is, know your manners, know where you came from, know what your potential is, and stay present in yourself. And that is being appropriate in your proportions. So that is a quick run through of, the significance of these three goddesses through time, as they've altered from Greek to Rome to, Christendom, and then into our, political parties today. Definitely look up that Overton window. I believe that in the year 2020, the Overton window turned into an Overton guillotine. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, that's kind of not a joke. It's a pretty severe fact. So, a couple more points on how this influences our culture, our minds. This is used for mind control, mentality, orchestrating our mentality on a very outright, very obvious level. Some people may have already thought of this. I may not be the first to associate these three fates with the conservative, moderate, and progressive, but I'm going to take it to an even more, some minute detail. You could call this hermeneutic wisdom. Hermetics, they love their trinities, their 1, 2s, and their 3s. So we're talking about minding your pints and your quarts, your knowing yourself in the proper proportions. And here I'm going to point out that these little letters on first, second, and third, when you list them together, you get standard. That's the standard operating procedure. The 1, 2, 3, the ABCs, the 3 wise men. That's your alphabet agencies. You know, these guys know about this, and they use it to create a standard of thought. You know, a standard is pacing. It's musical. It has to do with how quickly you have to, how much time you have to reflect. And that goes back to Den Kromverlust and loss of thinking space, literal translation of Den Kromverlust. So standards. Standards are crucial to maintaining a ritual. Look up the definition of ritual. It's very informative. You do rituals that you never even thought were rituals when you do things the same way repeatedly for a common goal, a common purpose. So here I have a standard writing notebook, and even the width and the height of this piece of paper is a standard. STNDRD, first, second, third, 3. This is the 3 dimensions brought down to 2 dimensions. So I want to list some aspects of atropos and the context of this margin, this red line. When we write justified left, and the end of every line that we write is woven with an undeterminable length, and there may be different gaps on this side, but there is a defined margin right here, a cutoff line of where we start, where we begin our sentences. And I'm going to make a huge jump in reasoning. Some people are ready for this, some are not. But what I am talking about with atropos, the cutoff line, and the margin, I believe, has everything to do with castrating the right brain. This has much to do with cutting us off from our heart connection and limiting our connection to higher self. And I will even take it to the point of saying this has much to do with the placenta. I do believe that the placenta is the cornerstone. We are dealing with, when you go back to my Diction of Aries, I talked about the Schuster salts, the cell salts being the 3 wise men, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Those are the 3 months after you're born. You require certain minerals, certain gifts to build your own temple. The builder has refused to complete you. And there will be 3 months where those 3 months, the cell salts that you will require will essentially embody the birth trauma forever for the rest of your life. It is why you relate to other people with the same zodiacal sign as you. It is your zodiacal signature. And it's why the zodiac has much to do with knowing thyself in your proper proportions. I hope this makes sense to most of you. So here are some phrases. I misspelled most of them on purpose, because I'm trying to make a point that there is a bit of a castration, a cutoff line, a dividing line that the patriarchs put there before you were even born. And these are terms of the agreement that you have to agree to, whether you know you're agreeing to them or not. So, original sin. Aura generates all sin, standing in negative. This is the negative space, the margin. This is what is written before you is the reason why you are incomplete. We are talking about the seers. Give unto Caesar what is his. We had to make a sacrifice when we were born, and it has much to do with that cutoff from the higher self. So prequel, this is the space before you write. This is when people tip a little bit of their wine in honor of the dead. For those who came before you, you are pouring a little off for your homies. This is the prequel. This is that which came before. These are the dead who are cardinal. They cannot come back. They are stuck in the past. The margin. I spelled it this way on purpose. I am talking about the ocean of spirits. Your connection to the unseen world. The river of Styx, if you will. The Red Sea. Moses parted the Red Sea and crossed over and left the old world behind when he destroyed the Pharaoh and walked into the wilderness, leaving tracks, having much to do with the rite of passage. The Holocaust, the Holocaust, this is those who came before, the reason things are the way they are now. You have to take the story as it is given to you, and you are not expected to question it. So the sac, riff, ice, we're talking about placenta. Riff is a division, and ice, once you took that, came out, you were probably pretty cold as a naked little baby. That's why your mama swaddled you. Big brother, this is a good one. Big brother is a very intimidating term. It has to do with the claim, the call, the placenta, the circle. Imagine the Merovingian man. He's naked like a baby, and he's touching his higher self, his outer limits of consciousness with his fingers and his toes. We're talking about Big Brother, the placenta. This is quite significant. No mistake that that's a 2 and a 2 either. 22, Master Builder. The guest room. This is the ghost's room. This is you can only guess what's going to happen there. This has a little bit more to do with Clotho in the future. A lot of people's guest room is a reflection of their insecurities. They keep the guest room clean and immaculate way beyond their own bedroom. Mostly because they're not in there very much, but there is something of the guest is also the ghost. It is making room for visitors. We may get into possession at some point as well. So tertium quid, look that up. It's the third something. It has to do with trust law, which has everything to do with the three wise men, tripartite crown. Trust law essentially is that there are multiple beneficiaries, multiple levels of a beneficiary in a trust, and you may not be the primary principal beneficiary. Much to learn about that. Look into Kirk Kallenbach for more on tertium quid. Tabula rasa is the blank slate. We're talking about the margin, the blank part, that we do not question that which came before. We leave it clean. Carte blanche, that's a blank check. And a blank check may be a little bit more here into Clotho in the future. The unexpected, the great beyond, that which will come forward that cannot even be named. But I just had to put that in the margin as well. So there it is, folks. There's the standards that we all live by. I hope you know them better now than you did before. Much love and strength, y'all.